Check out Viking Report with Drew and Ted. They tackle the Vikings and the NFL better than my opponents used to tackle me. Their trivia knowledge needs some work, though. You got beat by a cat? That's a Packers fan. Come on, guys.
Hey, everybody. Why do I have such a grin on my face? Because that was Chuck Foreman.
Yeah!
In Vikings Report with Drew and Ted. Drew Bunting. Normally we pay tribute to a show, but this is kind of a big deal. Is it not, Drew?
Oh, kind of a big deal. I'm on the moon. Chuck Foreman.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Got your shirt behind me today. These customized T-shirts you can get a hold of. Man, what an intro, Ted. We are ready to rock.
I'll tell you what, we kind of started doing the show tributes that we've been doing. But for me, the best TV programming in the 1970s as a kid growing up in Minneapolis and Richfield, Minnesota, was the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoons, occasionally on Mondays.
CBS Television Sports presents the National Football Conference Championship game. Today, the Minnesota Vikings meet the Dallas Cowboys.
And I'll tell you, Chuck Foreman was one of the big stars of those 1970s teams that I grew up with. What about you, Drew?
Absolutely. He's the biggest star that came to the Vikings, man. I mean, they always had solid teams. They had great players, but he was the first shifty, dynamic highlight guy that made the leaping plays and the spins he was the first real superstar, I think.
I loved watching the Vikings as a little kid. Like when you're little and you're growing up and you kind of starting to learn about football, you sort of latch onto a team and then you start liking players. Chuck Foreman was the first player I truly loved as a Minnesota Viking. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to the Purple People Eaters and Fran Tarkenton and Sammy White and some just other heroes of mine as a kid. But Chuck Foreman for me growing up was the first player that I remember that I just loved. I couldn't wait to turn on the TV to watch Chuck Foreman play on Sundays.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I remember I was 10 years old and I told Ma, I wanted to get Chuck Foreman jersey. And so she went and got this purple mesh like shirt and she took it to the graphics guy and he stick on some 44 and Foreman across the back. Dude, I
Nice.
wore it every day for like 2 years. I had it taped together. In all my spare time, I tried to run like Chuck. And I'm out in the front yard and I'm practicing my Foreman spins. I'm spinning around the tree. I'm doing the best. I'm holding it like a loaf of bread. Doing all my Foreman spins. And I went in the house and she goes, my mom says, Mr. Hill up the street drove by and he wants to know if you're all right. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, he said you drove by and you were spinning around in the front yard like you hit your head or something.
So in our living room in our house, which is where our big TV was, where I'd watch the games, my dad had a recliner, a chair. It wasn't a recliner, but he had those old footrests, those little portable footrests.
Yeah, that pop up. Yeah.
Well, no, it was like a standalone little footrest.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm like 6 or 7, whatever, 8, whatever it is. And I had a football and I'd set that footrest up in the middle of the living room and I'd hold the little mini football like a loaf of bread and I'd spin around and I'd dive over it like I'm diving in the end zone. We had like a TV tray dinner set up as like a table next to the chair and my leg hit it and it knocked everything over. And my dad was in the other room. He's like, what are you doing? I was just practicing to beat Chuck Foreman. He said, you're never going to beat Chuck Foreman. Pick up this mesh.
That's great.
Now, normally we have a jersey up behind Drew next to the always posted Alan Page jersey, but this week we have a Chuck Foreman t-shirt, which you can get at chuckforeman44.com. Chuck Foreman, the numbers 44.com. He's just opened up fairly recent, this brand new line of merchandising. He'll sign your own personal stuff. He'll sign footballs, helmets. You can buy these t-shirts. You can buy prints. It's an awesome site. If you're a Chuck Foreman fan, that is a must-stop place to go. Speaking of jerseys and buying stuff or giving stuff away, don't forget, we've got our own jersey contest coming up. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
When are we doing it?
Last week. We got 17, 20 signups or something from last week's show already. Got their name in the hopper for the JJ jersey that we're giving away on draft night during our live show.
That's right. You can win a Justin Jefferson jersey. Again, say that 3 times fast on draft night. So how do you win the jersey? How do you enter to win? Well, it's pretty simple. During each show, and by we, I mean Drew or I, will say a secret word or phrase. We don't know what that secret word or phrase is. It's decided after the show by Toonces. Hi, Toonces. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Hey,
and the producer Liz. And so when you and during the show you'll see the phrase, this is the secret phrase, Chuck Foreman spin or whatever. In the comments on our YouTube page, write down what that secret phrase is and boom, you're entered. It's that simple. And then on draft night, like Drew said, we'll draw a lucky winner for the Justin Jefferson jersey on our live show, April 29th.
Yes.
So we didn't say hi to you, Toonces. How are you?
I'm doing really good today. Just so excited to see your reactions to the Chuck Foreman video. It's seriously like watching two 12-year-old girls at a Bon Jovi concert.
Yeah,
I love it.
Exactly. I'm 10 years old again. When I saw that Chuck Foreman video and he mentioned my name and Drew's name, I literally could not believe it. I had a smile. My wife was here. I'd bring her on to ask her. I've had a smile on my face all day.
Totally, yeah. Absolutely.
It's surreal to me that one of my first boyhood idols has done this for our show. Thank you, Chuck. I hope I can meet you one day and shake your hand. Oh, by the way, that football right behind me, autographed Chuck Foreman football. I don't have a whole lot of Vikings merchandise, but my brother Bradley got me that Chuck Foreman autographed football. So
I have that Sports Illustrated sitting around.
What are you doing?
There we go.
Oh,
The Chuck Foreman.
yeah.
Sports Illustrated, and then he took this same thing and it was like a drawing of this same pose. And it said to Drew from Chuck Foreman. It was pretty cool. That's up here on my wall also. But
That's cool.
Couple
That's
things
cool.
real quick on Chuck before we move on to the show. 1973 Rookie of the Year, 12th overall pick, first round pick to the Vikings, 5 times Pro Bowler, had 7 seasons with the Vikings. And let's not forget what kind of receiver he was. He was the first hybrid receiver running back guy that put all the rest of the guys on the map. All those other guys that became prolific receivers out of the backfield, it was Chuck Foreman who started it all. Between rushing and receiving, he ended up with 8,944 total yards.
No kidding.
Only Chuck. That's so smooth, man. Yeah. 75 total touchdowns. I remember the year when he had 22 and 75 when he set that record on the last day of the season against the Bills. Can remember it like I was watching it yesterday. I was so excited.
And he would have won the NFL title in touchdowns if he hadn't been hit with a snowball by that Bills fan. Because he missed the whole second half of that game, or didn't he?
I'm not sure of the details of that, but man, that was an exciting day for me because he had 18. And I'm thinking, can he set that? I think Sayers had the record with 22. Gale Sayers.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Chuck could do it. It was snowy and crappy at Rich Stadium that day. I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to get, and he did.
And they kicked the crap out of Buffalo that day too.
35-13. Yeah, ass whooping, baby.
I saw
Chuck Foreman. Man, Chuck Foreman opened our show today. This is going to be fantastic.
The first Vikings game I went to, well, maybe not the first, but one of the first Vikings game I went to as a kid at the old Met Stadium was on the day Chuck Foreman set the NFL record for receptions by running back. It was 73. And that was the total number, but I can't remember what the number was that day, but I'm pretty sure it was against the Bengals. And Tarkenton, I think he broke his leg in that game.
Gary Burley broke his leg.
Yeah.
How the hell do we remember this stuff?
I don't know, man. I can't remember what I had for dinner an hour ago, but I remember that. I remember Chuck Fortner because the whole stadium started clapping. They put, the old Met Stadium, they had the old message-gram thing on the end of the scoreboard. It was
nobody ever has run the ball like Chuck Foreman since. Man, I loved watching Chuck Foreman.
Yeah, I did too.
Matter of fact, when we're done tonight, I am going out and I'm going to practice those moves again. I don't give a shit what the neighbors say.
And for those of you that are out there that don't know, Chuck Foreman should be in the Hall of Fame. If you can put Terrell Davis in the Hall of Fame, you can put Chuck Foreman in the Hall of Fame because his numbers over a 6 or 7 year period were way better than the 3 or 4 years that got Terrell Davis in the Hall of Fame. So let's get on it, senior committee.
Get Foreman in the Hall and get Marshall in there too.
Marshall.
Damn it.
Yep, and Ed White while we're at it.
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame.
So Chuck Foreman, absolute boyhood hero, opened our show. That's awesome. We could just close the show. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Please drive home carefully and come back again soon.
All right. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. Or Mr. Foreman. You always be Mr. Foreman to me. All righty. So over the weekend, again, for those of you that don't know, we record on a Monday. This happened over the weekend. And first of all, mea culpa to me, because on last week's show, I said for all the Vikings coaching changes, they weren't going to get anybody with any experience. And I was wrong. I'll be happy to admit, because the first outside hire they made in this coaching season was a new wide receiver coach, Keenan McCardle, coming over from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who was a great wide receiver for them for many years. Drew, what are your thoughts on the new wide receiver coach, Keenan McCardle?
Great hire. The guy knows everything there is to know about being a wide receiver. And Lord knows he put the time into this league. What did he play, 16 years or something?
Yeah. Won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay back in 02 or 03, whatever it was.
I would like to see Keenan McCardle not only be the position coach for the wide receivers, but also have some say in how this offense schemes and how they run. This is a great hire for the Vikings. Everybody's going to be happy with it.
One thing I saw is that he was also the position coach at Maryland of one Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
And Stephon Diggs says, that is the guy that taught me how to be a wide receiver. He's the best coach I have ever had. He taught me breaks. He taught me how to run routes. He is the reason I am the receiver I am today. And that is really exciting when you look at the year Justin Jefferson had and what Keenan McCardle can do for Justin Jefferson, who already has had a great rookie season.
Wow, that's a lot of good potential there. That's high praise coming from Diggs. Very good. That's really nice.
And I would argue Stephon Diggs is probably one of the 2 or 3 best route runners in the NFL. We talked about this in an earlier episode.
You got a gift, my friend. You got a gift.
I'm really excited for bringing Keenan McCardle on. What Urban Meyer was thinking, not retaining him, whatever, but I'm glad we got him. But that sort of caused a ripple effect in the rest of the coaching staff. So old wide receiver coach Andrew Janocko is now moving to be the quarterback coach. And the odds-on favorite to be the offensive coordinator is the current quarterback coach, Clint Kubiak. Although it was announced earlier today, Giants wide receiver coach Tyke Tolbert is interviewing for the offensive coordinator job. Most people think it's still going to be Clint Kubiak. I don't know. What are your thoughts on?
They got stuff going on at least.
Clint with a K.
No. I think that just might be just to have somebody in there for the interview. I don't know. I don't know the guy, so I can't speak how much experience he had. He's never been an OC either, has he? The guy they're bringing in from the Giants. So
he's not, but he does have one very important trait that the Vikings look for in their coaches. He is related.
He can pass the buck.
A current Vikings coach, the outgoing retiring Gary Kubiak.
They're all related somehow. I see words that say things along the line with, so we can keep everything the same. Well, I don't know if I really want to keep things the same scheme-wise. I'd like to see the Vikings get a little bit more aggressive with their offense, but we'll see how it shakes out.
I'll give them a chance. But on the one hand, I'd like to see when you have dynamic guys on the outside, and we've said this, like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, and you're going to have Irv Smith Jr. You've got dynamic players on the outside that can get you yards and chunks, yet the Vikings are married to this run-first philosophy. I'd like to see a guy come in and open it up more.
Sure, me too.
But we'll see. But we are not done with the coaching changes, Mr. Drew
No,
Bunting.
we're not done yet.
No, sir.
But I'm not done yet.
We have a new strength and conditioning coach. His name is Andrew Hinkst, coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that had so many injuries. Their injury room looked like the credit roll for Saving Private Ryan. I mean, come on, man. But he's going to be our new strength and conditioning coach, and he's going to be the guy to keep our Viking players healthy.
But he was the strength and conditioning coach when they beat us 38-7. So,
well, yeah,
so
okay.
We're going to use that old DiFilippo method of we're going to bring over some guys that are going to be the winner. Good job for Hinkst. I hope he strengthens, and I hope he conditions.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
What does the strength and conditioning coach do, Ted? Drink beer? Does he drink beer?
He blows a whistle a lot, yells, and makes guys lift. That's what a strength and conditioning coach does. Last but not least, we also have a new special teams coordinator, one Ryan Ficken, who has been the assistant special teams coordinator for, I think, 32 years. He was first hired under Les Steckel, and has been here since then. I don't know.
So he was the guy under the guy that sucked. So
yes.
How am I supposed to feel good about that?
What we're seeing here is a perfect example of the federal government in action. The guy that sucked leaves, and he gets another job elsewhere, probably a promotion. And the guy that sucked under that guy gets a promotion to the new position. I mean, that's the federal government. That's how the federal government operates.
He doesn't do a lot of work around here. He shows zero initiative. Tom is exactly what I'm looking for in a government employee.
I guess you can come in and say, that was all Maloof was on Fire's fault. I guess you could blame everything on Maloof. I don't know. I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to give me something to say with Ficken. What can I say? The plot thickens. What can I say?
This is what I want him to do. I want him to design either a punt return or a kick return play that he calls the Ficken Catalina wine mixer. And so whoever their next return guy is next year runs it in for a touchdown. I can stand up and yell, it's the Fickin' Catalina wine mixer.
Oh.
Fickin'
Catalina wine mixer.
It's the
Fickin'
Catalina wine mixer.
the Fickin'
Catalina wine mixer.
That's it right there. Now we can end the show.
Maloof was terrible. Maloof had literally the worst special teams in the NFL. And I think, and his assistant's now going to be running special teams. Okay.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Just like Clint Kubiak, who's probably going to be the OC. I'll give him a chance. They can't get much worse.
Super Bowl, homeboy.
Yeah, let's go.
You used to say Super Bowl, homeboy?
Super Bowl, homeboy.
I want to give everybody a chance. I love the world today. You know why, Ted?
Chuck Foreman.
Yeah! Chuck Foreman led in the show. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
Thank you, Chuck. Is that it for coaching news?
That's pretty much it for the coaching and most of the Vikings news. There's one more bit of Vikings information, but we'll get to it in a minute because again, over the weekend in the NFL, there was a huge trade that went down and it involved former Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford. He was traded to the Los Angeles Rams for 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and quarterback Jared Goff, who is now coming to Detroit. We mentioned last week that the Lions and Stafford agreed to part ways and they would do their utmost to trade him, and they got it done. And they got quite a haul for Matthew Stafford. What are your thoughts on that trade and how it affects the Lions moving forward?
They paid a steep price. I think they have to win the Super Bowl or it's a failure. That's how much of a price they give up a lot.
You mean for the Rams? Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
I wouldn't have done it, but they look at the quarterback Goff, whatever his name. He's not. It's kind of a waste of time. But to give up those first rounders in the future, it was a big move. If they win the Super Bowl, it was worth it. You're either going to win it, it was worth it, or they didn't. Complete failure.
And now the Rams are going to go something like 8 years without a first-round pick because remember, they moved up and gave up a ton of compensation to be able to get to the first pick in the draft and get Jared Goff, whatever it was, first year it was, they moved to L.A. So here's an interesting tweet that Ross Tucker put out. He's with Westwood One, I believe. He said, considering what the Rams dealt to initially get Goff in 2016, they essentially gave up the following total haul for Stafford. 4 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3 third-round picks, netted to 32-year-old Matthew Stafford.
Sometimes we talk about stupid moves, and on the other side of the coin, we talk about at least teams are making an effort to do something rather than just sitting quietly doing nothing. So, Stafford's a good quarterback. I think he was floundering around there in Detroit, but man, that's a lot, dude.
That is. And now from the Lions' perspective, though, that's a trade I think you have to make.
Oh, absolutely have to make.
There's no doubt they are fully in 100% rebuild, and now they have a lot of draft capital over the next 2 or 3 drafts to move up, and they're drafting fairly high in the draft.
They have a 7th pick this year, Ted.
So they may not even have to move up, unless they probably want Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I think they'd have to get to 1 or 2 to do that. But for a guy like Trey Lance or the BYU kid, Zach Wilson, they would only have to move up a few spots, and they have more than enough draft capital to do that. Plus, they've got Jared Goff, who's he had a bad year this year, but he's put up some numbers in the past. So I think it's a great move for Detroit if those picks work out.
It's not like they're without a quarterback. Goff played in the Super Bowl, dude. At least they got somebody to fill the gap. They're going to take a quarterback at 7 now, I do believe. And I think Lance will be there, maybe Wilson. But there's one team in this league that has to prove themselves to us, Ted Glover. It's the Lions.
That's true. If anybody could screw this up, it would be the Detroit Lions. That's for sure.
What an exciting week for their fan base, though.
Yeah, it really is.
This could be the time they turn around. This could be their Larry Bird to the Celtics type moment.
They have to absolutely hit on their quarterback, though. If they don't, it'll be another Joey Harrington era.
Eric Hipple.
Eric Hipple.
Horrible. Eric Horrible. Did you see that the Eagles hired their new quarterback coach?
No, I did not.
Brian Johnson.
Really?
I don't think it was the Brian Johnson that we all know. Give me, the AC/DC. I wasn't
What's everybody doing tonight? Guys, come here. Let's talk about your outro.
So I watched his presser to see if it was Brian Johnson. It was just an audio presser on a podcast. I didn't get to see it. But here's what it said. It said, Brian Johnson, we're going to be a fast machine, and we're going to keep our motor clean. We're going to be the best damn offense that you've ever seen. We'll have first down eyes. We're not going to tell you lies. And we will score touchdowns with our bombs and our drives. So it might be.
Okay. All right.
It might be Brian, but Brian Johnson did get hired by the Eagles. I wanted to let everybody know.
They'll need 9 timeouts at half because whenever he radios in the play, nobody will understand what he's saying. I need you to buy option cause 44.
And if it doesn't work out, they'll certainly be on the highway to hell. Maybe. Won't they?
So, as we know, Matthew Stafford got moved. Deshaun Watson, the Texans named a brand new coach, but Deshaun Watson says, I don't care. I still want to be traded. And John McClain, the guy that covers the Houston Texans, says the Stafford trade will have nothing to do with the Watson trade if the Texans do it. The Texans are going to want 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 young defensive starters at the least. But he says Watson's 25, under contract, great quarterback, team leader, beloved by the fans, pillar of the community. Start with the Jets. So I mentioned Deshaun Watson because I think just about every show you and I have said the Vikings aren't going to trade Kirk Cousins. However, what happened today, Drew Bunting?
Here we go. I'm here in the Bay Area, so I kind of have to, the only news I could really watch is Niner news or Raiders or anything else going on in the Bay Area. I haven't heard anything about the trading of Kirk Cousins. Most of the Bay Area guys here say that Jimmy G is going to be the guy next year, but it's different whenever I look on, Twitter. I don't know what to make of it anymore, Ted, because one minute somebody posts something that the Niners want him, then I hear the Niners don't want him.
I didn't put anything into these trade rumors. I just feel, and I still feel strongly, that Kirk Cousins, Rick Spielman, and Mike Zimmer are tied together. Their fates are intertwined, and they sink or swim as 3 amigos.
Well, for sake of the fan base, tell me, what do we get for Cousins? Let's play it out real quick.
Well,
Niners want him. What are you going to ask for?
The rumor was the Vikings want a first-round draft pick, a second-round draft pick, and Jimmy Garoppolo. According to various sources and what have you, the 49ers offer was a second, a 4 in Garoppolo, and the Vikings are wanting a first-round pick. I would think a 1, a 2, and a quarterback you can plug in for 2021 would be a minimum. I mean, if Stafford can get that, if Deshaun Watson's asking for 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 players, I think you could at least get a 1 and a 2 for Kirk Cousins, who I think is a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford, if we're being honest. I think one of the first-round picks the Lions got was a bribe, more or less, to take the Goff contract off the Rams' hands. But that's neither here nor there. What do you think? I mean, do you even think this is going to go down?
No, I don't think it's going to go down. But if you're going to get something, that's what she said. if you're going to, you got to start with a first rounder and build from there. I mean, you got to have a first, you got to have a third, you got to have like 3 picks thrown in there at least. I mean, a second and a fourth. What are you really you're not achieving anything by that. You need that blue chipping first round guy is what you got to get.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
I think you absolutely need to get a minimum first-round pick and a second-round pick.
I mean, a first and a second in Garoppolo. I mean, how do you not do that?
You do. I would. Would you do that if they offered you a first, a second, Jimmy Garoppolo? Would you do that trade?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Seeing what Stafford got, I mean, you almost have to throw in another pick on top of that to make it. I mean, you're right. Cousins, if Stafford can get that, why can't Cousins? Because the Niners aren't as stupid as the Rams.
I think it all goes back to the perception of Kirk Cousins as a guy that doesn't do well in big games.
All along, if they just would have put all your cards in that offensive line, then you'll really be able to see. You can't really answer it without that being fit. The Vikings don't have any room to. They got a lot of rebuilding to do on the offensive and defensive lines. The football starts in the trenches. What do you grade their offensive line as, Ted? Give me a quick grade.
The Vikings offensive line last year, D.
What's the defensive line's grade?
F, all the way around.
Okay, so you got a D and an F in the trenches. D, F, D, F. You got to rebuild this before you worry.
What are your grades for similar, different?
I had C- for the offensive line and D-.
Okay.
D- to F, but F's probably better for the defensive line. But I give them a D- because they had some injuries. But the point is, they got to rebuild those 2 areas of their team. There's a lot of areas the Vikings got to rebuild. And I don't say that the quarterback isn't important, but if you're going to have a guy like Cousins, you better have an A-grade offensive line. You have to.
Yes. So let's play this out. So what's the end game? Let's just say hypothetically the Vikings get a deal done and they trade Kirk Cousins to San Francisco and Jimmy Garoppolo comes over to Minnesota. Is Jimmy Garoppolo the starting quarterback in 2021?
I hope not. That guy sucks, dude. That guy sucks.
This guy sucks.
I mean, I said earlier in a post that they're pretty much equal to Cousins. He's flawed. He's probably not as accurate as Cousins, but is there anything special about his game that you'd want to make him the starter for? I mean,
no. And I asked that because I think if the Vikings did pull the trigger on a trade, that would not be his end game. There'd be another move.
Trade him to New England and get more picks.
Either that or do something with Garoppolo and move him for a pick.
I would do that before I played him.
Let's say that happens too.
Ted.
Yeah.
We got drugged back into this cousin shit, didn't we?
We did.
We got drugged.
Sucks. So we're gonna spend just a little bit more, and we'll move on.
We got drugged right back into it.
We did. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Would you draft a quarterback if you've got this extra draft capital? Would you try and move up and get a quarterback, or would you make a play for Deshaun Watson?
Well, it depends on what you'd have to give up for. The reason he can't really make a move on Watson is it's going to be steep, and the Vikings need secondary help. We've already talked about the offensive and defensive line. They need another linebacker. They need a third wideout. There's a lot of holes the Vikings have, and I'd probably do one of the two for sure. I mean,
I think if he gets that extra draft capital, he's going to make a play for Watson. Does it work? I don't know.
I really like that Zach Wilson guy from BYU. I've watched him. I do. I like the way he's calm and poised, and he keeps his eyes downfield when he's scrambling. I think he's got a good handle on the game, but we'll get into that when we talk about my draft.
We will. And it's so bottom line, if you had to bet right now, is he going to move? Are they going to trade him?
No, Cousins will be our quarterback week 1.
I'm going to say I think they move him.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just, based on the way things are going now, it's kind of starting to feel that way.
Oh, we're tied on that. I think he's staying. You think he's moving. Toonses, what do you think? Ask Toonses. I want Toonses' opinion on that. She doesn't want to.
Toonses, is Kirk Cousins going to be the Vikings starting quarterback?
Yes, he is.
In 2021. You think so?
I do think he is. Yes. I don't think there's going to be any trades.
Okay.
I
didn't mean to throw you a curveball there, Toonses, but I'm Steve Carlton. Every once in a while I throw you that Tommy John curve. You got to be ready for it.
2-1 to stay.
2-1 to stay.
So that pretty much wraps up the NFL stuff we're going to cover. And I'm sure we'll talk about Kirk freaking Cousins again. He's like a cold. He just doesn't go away.
I don't mind talking about it because I know the fans want to hear about it too. But there's so many muddled stories and opinions. It's hard to say. I mean, really, it is intriguing to talk about, though. That's why we keep getting drug into it.
But with that out of the way, another big event in the NFL offseason, one of the big first draft type events took place, the Reese's Senior Bowl this past Saturday. Drew, as our resident draft expert, what were your overall thoughts on the Senior Bowl, and are there any prospects that you think Vikings fans should be kind of on the lookout for, names to remember type stuff?
I do have a few prospects. I think that there's way more importance on this Senior Bowl than in the past because of the no combine. So I think it's funneled down a lot more to watching this game, and there's a lot more eyes on this game. But I do have a couple guys. I got a couple of wide receivers. The kid from Louisville, Desmond Fitzpatrick, he looked really good all week. Great wideout. And of course, Shi Smith from South Carolina, who's like Deebo Samuel. Shi Smith is going to be a high draft pick, probably second rounder, but he looked really good. There's a guard I really like, a couple smaller school guys. From Division III, Wisconsin Whitewater, there's this kid named Quinn Miners. This guy, he's Division III, so automatically you look at the competition level. But this dude, during the week of practice, was putting Division I guys on their ass, one after another.
Was he really?
He was opening up some serious eyes. I mean, he looks like this big, just goo guy, but
and he's a center, right?
He's a center, but he plays guard also. And they think he's going to play guard at the next level. This guy broke his hand on Thursday, continued to practice till the end of the week, and was begging the coaches to get into he didn't get to play because he had a broken hand, but he was begging them, can I get in there to play? This guy wants to play football. That's all he wants to do is eat, drink, and sleep football. Quinn Miners, big cat out of Wisconsin Whitewater. I like the safety Richard Grant from the Central Florida. Looked a lot like the center fielder you want at safety. During the week, I think he picked off 6 passes during practice during the week.
Really?
total ball hawk, steers the defense when he's out there. He knows when guys are in and out of position. He's a very smart player. And I think, without saying, he kind of reminded me of Paul Krause a little bit, his ball hawk, just anticipating the passes. The one quality you look for in a safety, when a guy plays safety and he attacks the ball and he looks like a receiver, that's somebody that stands out a little bit more to me. That means they got, a lot of receiver skills along with having the mindset to play safety. Oh, there is one more name I got written down here. Oklahoma center Creed Humphrey.
Okay.
Now, Creed Humphrey snapped the ball over the quarterback's head 6 times during practice. So I figured the Steelers might want to take a look at him. Right? Sorry, Creed. That's the last of my notes. I mean, there's plenty of other guys that stood out. There's a lot of guys that on the interior, of course, that you look at, because I think the Vikings are going to need to go pretty heavy in the draft with both sides of their interior. They need guards. They need a defensive tackle. And let's face it, they might need an edge rusher too. We don't know what's going on with Wanham. So I think I was watching the trenches a lot. There's some good football players coming out in this draft.
So now that's just kind of a little wet your whistle for draft talk, because next week we are going to start our positional breakdowns. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one position on the team a week. We're going to look at the current players on the roster, players that played for the Vikings that have become free agents, potential free agents that they could possibly sign, and potential draft picks. And next week, I believe we're starting with quarterback, correct?
Started with quarterbacks. Let's start right there.
And it's funny because when Drew and I started talking about doing this, we thought, well, quarterback isn't going to be that big of a deal. It just became kind of a big deal in the last couple of days or so.
Right.
So that's how we're going to run our offseason draft coverage and team positional breakdown. And we're going to be starting it next week on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, which was opened today by the great Chuck Foreman.
Yeah, Vikings Report. You guys lost to a cat? Come on, man.
That was great.
Yeah, we are starting that. We got a lot of positions to go over. We don't want to overwhelm. We don't want to bore. So we're just doing one position a show. We will break it down for you. And maybe if you have questions about it, get them in this week so we can get them by next week. And
yeah. If there's a player you want to know about at the quarterback position that isn't necessarily talked about, like the top 3 or 4 guys that we've mentioned on the show, give Drew a shout out. I'll be able to spell the guy's name, but Drew will be able to give you a full breakdown and where he might fit in with the Vikings if they go in that direction. So that is our Vikings and our NFL news. I believe it is commercial time and then trivia time
with Tisses. We'll be right back, folks.
It's harvest time. Trees full of big crunchy nuts. Time for a Mars bar. You get big crunchy nuts in a Mars bar. Sun-drenched nuts gathered at the peak of ripeness. Toasted up golden brown. Mars bar. Big crunchy nuts in creamy nougat, caramel, rich milk chocolate. If you like the taste of big crunchy nuts, you're gonna love a Mars bar. You get big crunchy nuts in a Mars bar.
I asked Rich, I got it, Toyota. Some athletes drive incredibly priced cars. Me too. My Toyota Celica GT liftback is incredible for what you don't have to pay extra for. Tachometer, AM/FM stereo, 5-speed overdrive, power front disc brakes, and steel belted radius. All standard equipment. If you can find a better built small car than Toyota, buy it. You asked for it, you got it, Toyota.
Welcome to Toonses Trivia. How you guys doing?
Hello, Toonses.
Hello, Toonses.
Hello, Newman.
Hello, Newman.
Hello. Today we will be playing Password.
Password? I love Password.
You will be playing against each other. You will be alternating. There'll be 4 clues for each word. And if you don't get it, I get the point and we move on. Ready to go?
Let's do it, too.
Yep. Who goes first?
Drew, you're going to go first. Ready?
Yes.
Mishandle.
Mishandle. Fumble.
Good.
Did I get it?
You got it. Ted, next one. Uprights.
Goalpost.
You got it. Next, Drew.
Damn.
Transfer.
McCaffrey.
No, Ted. Running back.
Handoff.
Correct. All right, Ted, you're first again. Announcer.
Analyst.
No. Drew? Aikman?
Joe Buck.
Correct. Drew, you start this time again. Pick.
Pick or kick?
With a P.
Pick. That would have to be quarterback.
No, Drew. Or, excuse me, Ted. Quarterback.
Interception.
Correct.
Ted cheats, dude.
All right, Ted.
Slander. This is slander.
Ted goes first again.
Okay.
Bailey.
Bailey?
Yes,
I'm just going to say kicker.
that is correct.
Yes.
Drew.
I would have said punch the drywall in my house.
Drew, the next word for you, the clue is practice.
Practice. Allen Iverson.
It's not the game. We're talking about practice, man.
Oh, no, it's not football related. Sorry. Go ahead, Ted.
Ted. Game.
Preseason.
No, Drew. Unofficial.
Practice. Game. Unofficial. Scrimmage!
Yes, that is correct. All right, Ted, next word. Your clue is linesman.
Referee.
No, Drew. Takedown.
Linesman. I was going to say myself in the 80s. What was it? Takedown?
Yes.
Linesman and takedown. Wrestling. I don't know.
No, Ted. Sack.
Linesman, takedown, sack.
Oh.
Defensive end.
No, Drew, last clue. Fishing.
Jared Allen.
It was Brian Robeson, wasn't it?
It was tackle. I get a point.
Sackle?
Tackle. Oh,
Yeah, it was-
tackle.
Tackle.
Oh. That's a good one. Casey.
Linesman, takedown, sack, fishing, tackle.
What is the score right now? Is it tied?
Right now, Ted has 4, Drew has 3, I have 1.
Who goes first?
Drew, your clue
Shit, I get
is
one first.
Metellus.
Michigan.
No, Ted, your clue is Smith.
Smith. Metellus. Safety.
That is correct. Ted, you go
my
first again. Your clue
God.
is score.
Score.
Yes,
Touchdown.
that is correct.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Drew, your clue is rush.
I feel like Ken Norton when he was fighting Jerry Cooney.
Straight up. Norton is about to drop. Norton is on his knees.
What is it? Rush?
Rush.
Tom Sawyer.
Days Tom Sawyer, he gets high on you. And the space he invades, he gets by on you.
No, Ted, your clue is quarterback.
Rush. Quarterback. Blitz.
Correct.
Yes.
Jesus, I am just getting worked.
Ted, you're next again.
Oh my.
Your clue is avoid.
Avoid. Step up.
Drew, quarterback.
For avoid, I was going to say playing Ted and password, but it's avoid and quarterback. I would say scramble.
Correct.
Yeah, I got one, Ted.
All right. Drew, the next one. Your clue is announcer.
Announcer, play-by-play.
Ted, coach.
Announcer. Coach. John Madden.
That is correct.
Holy shit.
Ted, your clue is straight.
Straight.
Guess we know it's not Dan Bailey.
Patrick O'Connor missed that tackle. Here is an
Straight. Matt Asiata. Straight into the line.
Oh, that's great, dude.
Drew, your clue is cash.
Randy Moss, straight cash only.
If you don't write checks, how do you pay these guys?
Straight cash, homie.
All
I
right.
don't care if I lost. That's the best one of all of them.
No, this is the best one of all. Drew, this is the last one. Your clue is running back.
Chuck Foreman!
Yes.
Ted, who started the show today, Ted?
That'd be Chuck Foreman. That's who started the show. That's right.
Chucky!
Chuck Foreman.
Chucky! knocking everything down here. I'm so excited.
All right, Ted, you won 8-6.
Good job, Ted.
We'll see you next week for Toonces Trivia.
Thanks, Toonces.
Thanks, Tootses. That was really awesome.
That was good. That was good.
Fun. We'll have to do. Let's re-up password. Let's keep that one in the hopper for future reference.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, our last segment. We've already made our Super Bowl picks. Again, to revisit, we both picked Kansas City, and our tiebreaker is total points. I said 31-27, so I'm picking Kansas City and 58 points, and I believe you took Kansas City and 60 points?
Yes, 2 more points.
Part of the thing about Super Bowl week is all the different bets you can make. And there's gamblers make and lose millions and millions of dollars every year on what we call prop bets or things within the game. And Drew, you have been known to lay down $1 or $2 in the past on gambling. What are some of your favorite prop bets you got this week for the Super Bowl?
Since you didn't hear that. Well, I got a couple football ones and a couple fun ones to go over with you. Matter of fact, we're going to do a little running trivia ourselves between all three of us. I'm going to ask these prop bets, and you and Toots give me the answer. Who gets the ball first? Which team?
Oh, so we're just kind of doing a friendly bet here?
Yeah, and then next week we'll go over who got out of the – I think there's 5. I got 5.
Who gets, like, from the opening kickoff, who gets the ball first? I'm going to say Tampa Bay.
Okay, Toots?
I'll say Kansas City.
Okay, and I made my pick earlier. Most yards passing, Mahomes or Brady?
Toots, you go first.
Mahomes.
I'm going to say Mahomes as well.
Clean sweep. Here's a fun one. The national anthem. The average time for the national anthem is 1 minute and 55 seconds. Will it be over or under 1 minute and 55? Don't ask me who's singing it. Some guy named Church or something. I don't know who's singing it. Him and some girl. There's 2 people doing it.
I'm going to say with COVID and nobody live there because it's going to be streamed, I'm going to say under. I'm going to go under 1 minute 55.
Okay. Tootses?
Those things always go on forever and ever. I'm going to say over.
Okay, over. I got a little fun fact for this. A couple years ago, Gladys Knight from Gladys Knight and the Pimps, she sang the national anthem and she added 2 braves on the end. So there was 3 because the last word is brave in the national anthem. She added 2 more, which took the time from 1 minute 47 to 1 minute 59. So all the people that had the over thought they had won, and they didn't because the rules state when she says the first B in the first brave, that's when the time stops. So there was this huge Vegas, people were rioting in Vegas, and people are asking why, and they go, because the national anthem, one guy lost like $300,000 because it went over or went under. He thought it was over, so he went in with his slip, and he thought, all over the anthem prop bet. It all happened over the anthem prop bet. So,
what kind of degenerate gambler are you to bet $300,000 on the length of the national anthem at the stinking Super Bowl?
But
seriously,
he's watching it. He's timing it, and by the third brave, he's got it. I got it. Just things here at Vikings Report you can't get anywhere else. Where else are you going to find that information?
That's kind of knowledge you need in your everyday life, folks.
Lady Gaga had the second longest. What team gets the first accepted penalty? Not the first penalty, the first accepted one.
Tampa Bay.
I'll say Kansas City.
Now for the last one, MVP, Brady or Mahomes or anybody else. Either of the 2 quarterbacks or the field, which is everybody else.
I'm going to pick Mahomes.
Toonses?
Yeah. I'll pick Brady.
That's it for me, Ted. That's all I got for
okay. All right. So next week, one of us is going to be singing.
Lord help us all.
Because next week the bet gets paid up, and we'll review the prop bets. So again, I can't say thanks enough to Chuck Foreman for the welcome and the shout out. I can't put into words what that means to me as a kid growing up watching the Vikings. And again, thanks again to Toonces and Drew's daughter Liz, who does a fantastic bang up job in production. Thank all of you who are watching us. We're closing in on 700 subscriptions in just over a month. I can't believe that number that is real, but it is. And before I go, again, don't forget our jersey contest. Write the secret word or phrase in the YouTube comments below this video when it airs Saturday morning. And we'll try and do better the next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tootses, for the triv. Thank you, Liz, for putting all this together. Thank you, Ted, for beating my ass in the trivia game. Thank you, everybody who's listening and subscribing and supporting the show. We are rocking. We are just beginning. This is going to get better. It's going to get crazier. It's going to get crazier. I just said that. Thank you, Chuck Foreman. We got Chuck Foreman on today. And I'm completely happy right now. We will see you for the next episode. We will be ready, and so long. Say goodnight, Ted.
Good night, Ted.